Greetings and happy salutations! I'm Cin Wicked, and this is a Cinfully Wicked Critique. So, okay. Apparently, it's October. I'm trusting other people's information on that. And apparently, I haven't actually been seen on the internet since April? So, some explanation is in order, obviously. Now, how do I put this? You see, a reviewer's life is a very complicated thing. We have inexplicable cameras that follow us around so that people can get cameos at any moment. I can be your hero. Which is awkward. And we have superhuman threats decide that we are the people who need to be attacked. River! For some reason. Anyway, it means that if you decide to be a reviewer, plot will find you. And this summer, plot found me. I don't really remember what happened. I was a bunny, and a woman, couple of women. I think I said something nice about Kesha, which was weird. And I feel vaguely dirty about if it happened. I think I was in Florida. I think I kept my pants on, but if I show up on What the Fuck Is Wrong With You, I apologize. And I remember a box had a person inside it and a lobster? See, it gets very complicated. So, I have no doubt that at some point, it will all straighten itself out, and we'll all know what happened to me for the past summer. But, until that happens, I suddenly seem to remember yesterday and can anticipate tomorrow again in a normal fashion, so I'm doing a review. All that said, sing it with me, fans. My little pony, my little pony.
My little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little pony. Until you all shared its magic with me. Big adventure, tons of fun. A beautiful heart, faithful and strong. Sharing kindness, it's an easy feat. And magic makes it all complete. You have mine. Did you know you're all my very best friends?
Now, I'd like to ask the bronies to just rein in there, a little bit of horse-related humor, before they attack me with their pitchforks and their torches and their little plastic horses with the pretty, pretty hair. Because ultimately, I don't want to talk about My Little Pony. No, you see, I want to talk about a little something I like to call media empathy. Media empathy is a concept I've had to think a lot about while I've grown as an internet reviewer-type blog person. I define it thusly. The responsibility of the critic to recognize the role of the audience, recognize the critic's own biases, and to balance both empirical quality and subjective quality in analyzing a piece of pop culture. My attempts to deal with my own media empathy don't mean I expect any others to follow in my footsteps. There. Isn't that easy? At its most basic, I think media empathy just means that while I have an opinion, I don't expect you to share it. Nor do I think you're wrong if you disagree with me. So with all that said, let's talk about My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. I really enjoy the newest iteration of My Little Pony. It's full of in-jokes while maintaining the sense of moralistic storytelling that constructs the framework of norms and values we expect our children to gain. The one that we largely use television to impart. I see a lot of parallels between this iteration of My Little Pony and the original run of The Muppet Show. The series features jokes for both parents and their kids, and is definitely being targeted towards nostalgic nerd culture, especially when you get such geekery alums as John Delancey, who people my age will recognize as Q from a little show called Star Trek: The Next Generation. My Little Pony features catchy songs, some of which have a Muppet-esque lesson structure. For example, I see similarities between Pinkie Pie's Giggle at the Ghosties and Fraggle Rock's Pass It On. And I'll admit that the fact that this series reminds me of things I remember fondly from my childhood gives me a bias in favor of the series. A situation that is obviously true for others based on the amazingly skewed demographic results, where one of the largest groups watching My Little Ponies is males, aged 18 to 35. Which brings me to the biggest detractor of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and a complete failure of media empathy on both sides. The vocal minority of the bronies. Let me state that when I'm talking about the vocal minority of bronies, I'm not talking about guys who just like My Little Pony, or who've done fan art, music videos, or generally just engaged with the fandom. That's fandom, and it can be a great thing. No, I'm talking about the vocal minority. The ones who so vehemently defend their chosen fandom that anyone who speaks ill against their beloved ponies must be either brought into the light of Ponyville or crushed under the hooves of those who understand. That's why I have to bring in my concept of media empathy. There's nothing wrong if someone doesn't like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Really, there's not. There is nothing wrong with people who just don't get into it. Just like there's nothing wrong with people who get really into it. Look, if somebody hasn't seen the series, I'll ask them to give it a couple of episodes, as the members of Cin Wicked can attest. I like that. But if they don't like it, then I just accept that we have different tastes in what makes up enjoyable media. And I untie them. See, they're not wrong for disliking the series, and I'm not wrong for liking it. But if that's true, then how can I in good conscience provide a review or critique of the series? I rely on empirical gauges of quality. Without getting into questions of enjoyability, I can talk about the technical aptitude of a piece of work. Then I can bring in my own acknowledged biases to talk about my experience interacting with the media. That way I can talk about the technical prowess of a piece of media, and then my experiences with it, whether bad or good, and at the end of the day I can still recognize that other people out there, probably. To put it another way, I don't like Justin Bieber. But I don't have to like Bieber to talk about his music. I just need to accept that he's really no worse than the Backstreet Boys, or NSYNC, both of whom I was crazy about when I was part of the demographic that bubblegum pop is aimed at. I have to remember that while I regret my infatuations now, they were a part of the things that have made me who I am today. And it shouldn't be my call to say that other teens can be denied that same chance to grow into whoever they're going to be through regretting their modern pop culture. I guess that's at the root of how I view reviewing. I can talk about the raw pieces of a topic. I can talk about what I think of it. And I can make a guess about what you'll think of it. And I will hopefully do it in a way that's both informative and entertaining. But at the end of the day, I'm asking you to draw your own conclusions. 'Cause I'm not you. To bring this all back around, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a mixed bag. The characterization for each of the ponies starts off strong, but occasionally meanders. Notable cases can be made for Rarity and Rainbow Dash, who become more or less self-centered as the plots demand. You could make an argument for Pinkie Pie, but I just accept that she's chaos incarnate and move on. The series suffers from some weak writing in places, and the fact that the first season started with a big attention-grabbing two-parter, and then finished with what is effectively the prom, is reminiscent of a lot of heteronormative programming marketed directly to girls. But those are little nitpicking things, and they don't really impact the overall enjoyability of the series. The series espouses a wonderful message about how important friendship is to growing up and to life in general. The mythology of the pony universe makes sense for the first time ever. And the characters represent archetypal character tropes that ensure that most people will find one pony that they can identify with. By the way, Fluttershy for the win. I find the series a lot of fun, and definitely recommend it for fans of shows like The Muppet Show or Tiny Toon Adventures. But if it's not your thing, I can understand that too. Either way, until next time, this is Cin saying I need a new catchphrase.